Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my 8th grade SOL video review. We have another multiple choice question here, and this multiple choice question explains to us that a wire is connected from the top of a flagpole to the ground as shown. So here's your flagpole, here's the wire connected from the top to the ground. It measures 10 meters, and the distance from where it meets the ground to the flagpole is 5 meters. And this question is asking us to find the height of the flagpole. So really what we have here is a right triangle. And we have two measurements of the right triangle, and we're asked to find the third side, or the third measurement of the right triangle. You have learned a tool to help you find a missing side in a right triangle, and that formula is the Pythagorean theorem, which looks like this. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now where do we get the a, the b, and the c? Well, if we had a right triangle, and I apologize for my poor artwork here, pretend that's a right triangle. One of the legs would be labeled A, the other leg would be labeled B, and the longest side would be labeled C. The longest side is known as the hypotenuse. And what the Pythagorean theorem says is if you take the length of one of the legs and square it, and add that to the length of one of the other legs, or the other leg, and square it, the sum of those two values is equal to the length of your hypotenuse squared. So we're going to be using this formula to help us find this missing side. The thing of it is, though, is this isn't going to be just as easy as finding if we were missing the hypotenuse. We're missing one of the legs. So once we plug in what we know into our Pythagorean theorem formula, we're then going to have to apply a little bit of our algebra skills to figure out the answer to the height of this flagpole. Let's go ahead and plug in what we know. So we have A, we have one of the legs, that's 5, and that gets squared. And we add that to the length of the other leg, which we don't have, that is our B squared, that's the missing side. And we're going to set that equal to the length of the hypotenuse, or the longest side, or C, and that is 10 squared. So once you get it set up, we're going to go ahead and square these values. So 5 squared is 25. B squared is still just b squared. And 10 squared is 10 times 10, 100. Now we need to apply your algebra. We're going to try and get b squared by itself, and to do that we're going to subtract 25 from both sides of the equation. So when I subtract 25 from both sides, I have b squared left on the left side of our equation, and I have 100 minus 25, I have 75 left on the right side. Now, to get b, which is what we want, we don't want b squared, we just want b, the length of this leg. We don't want the squared of the length of the leg, just the length of the leg. We need to undo squaring this. So the opposite of squaring something is to take the square root of it. And when you do that, that cancels out the square and leaves you with just a b. But remember the number one rule in algebra, whatever you do on the left side of your equation, you must do the same thing on the other side of your equation. So b is equivalent to the square root of 75. Now I don't see that as one of the answers over here. So I need to plug 75 into my calculator, and I need to take the square root of it, which comes out to approximately 8.66. And since we're talking about meters here, we'll plug in our units so we're thorough. So the length of the height of the flagpole, or the length of the value b, is 8.66 meters, or rounded 8.7. All right, So I guess the key to this one, everybody, is identifying the fact that we needed to use the Pythagorean theorem to find this missing side of this right triangle, and to remember what the Pythagorean theorem is. The Pythagorean theorem, remember, only applies to right triangles. If this were not a right triangle, we could not assume that this measurement squared added to this measurement squared is equal to this measurement squared. But since we know it's a right triangle, we're able to use the Pythagorean theorem and find our answer. All right, everybody, thanks for watching and have a great day.